Are you dreaming about owning property on the creek in Sedona? We totally understand. It's actually one of my favorite spots. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking you on a tour. There's some spots that you may already know through Oak Creek Canyon, but some other coveted spots in the Sedona area that are right on the creek.
This is Los Abrigados Spa Resort. I actually was a manager in timeshare for a year. I took a break from general real estate just because I thought I wanted to do the timeshare business. Very lucrative in Sedona. Much better work week and more money. Anyway, so I used to work down here, and I used to sit by the creek down here and pitch timeshare to people on the creek right here. I did that for about a year and a half. But anyway, it's a beautiful spot right here. Incredible. Sedona Schnebly, the young lady they named the town after. Her parents were settlers. Their original house was on right over here, right where we could walk to it right here. There's another subdivision, Copper Cliffs, we're going to go to over here. That's they're all really old, nostalgic neighborhoods close to town. They hardly ever come on the market, and when they do, like the one a few weeks ago, it overbid with like 4 offers and sold for 200,000 over asking a couple of weeks ago. I had an offer in and I didn't get it accepted for my people. They wouldn't go up higher. So the other thing I wanted to say that I forgot to say is that Sky Ridge Estates, our new subdivision, is walking distance from here. It's about a 5-minute walk. So that's one of the pluses about Sky Ridge. You can walk to the creek. Tlaquepaque is right here. Los Abrigados Spa Resort, right next to Tlaquepaque. You got restaurants, bars, art galleries, fine shopping. It's all fixed up at at Christmas and different times of year. They're really festive down here. We've done some videos on it.
And one thing about Los Abrigados, you can always get a gym membership here, which gives you access to this park, as well as what's right next to us, which we'll pan through, are tennis courts and pickleball courts,
and
which are really
lit tennis courts at night, and also the gym. There's also a gym here. You can actually go have drinks by the pool, and they'll put them on your tab. That's all included. So you don't need to be staying here to have the usage of this resort. You can pay like $150 a month for a couple. And that's what we'll offer all of our owners in Sky Ridge Estates. They can walk down here and enjoy this. It's like having a spa resort pool right next to your house on the creek.
And this is truly probably one of the most peaceful, serene spots, I believe, in the Sedona area. And right now, we're standing here in the middle of January, so we had snow earlier this week, and it's a bit cold. You can see by the clothes that we're wearing, but even in the summertime, this is just truly just a magical spot when the leaves are on the trees. Yeah, because the trees are really big and there's a lot of leaves, and it's just beautiful. So this is just a quick span of what it looks like today at Los Abrigados Park. We do have some footage from about a month ago right here, which was in November of 2023. And you can see with the leaves how much different it looks. And it is just truly just beautiful and peaceful. I think this looks like a very big puzzle that I used to put together when I was a young child.
Beautiful views down here by the creek. Tennis courts, pickleball, they're lit at night. And these trees are beautiful in the summer. So when it's warm, you're in the shade down here. It's really spectacular. So we are at Sedona Schnebly's house. Her parents were the settlers in town here. They had a trading post right there. That's not it, but the site of that. And then Phil Morris, the gentleman who built Tlaquepaque and Los Abrigados, who passed away last year, he built it. That was his home. He lived there, and he actually, interestingly enough, while we're speaking about Creekfront property, he only lived on the creek. All the homes he lived in Sedona, which were a lot of them, he moved around and fixed up and sold houses and built new houses. He always wanted to be on the creek. He didn't care as much about the red rocks. He wanted on the creek, whether it had.
So Copper Cliffs is located on the opposite side of the creek, across from Los Abrigados, just a little bit south. It's located directly across the street from the Hudson. Here is just part of the neighborhood. This is a house that was on the market that was Creekfront property, probably in the last month. As you can see on the property, it's just beautiful. It has a lot of apple orchards, and we'll take you through a part of the house, but not the majority of it. Most of this will be outside. So a little bit about the Copper Cliffs community. Copper Cliffs was actually home of one of the first Sedona settlers. After John James Thompson invited his friend Abraham James from Nevada into Sedona, promising better days ahead. And one of the reasons why he invited him was because Abraham James and his wife had a daughter that was marriage age, and she was single. Abraham James is also credited with naming Bell Rock, Steamboat Rock, Table Mountain, House Mountain, Cathedral Rock, and Courthouse Butte. One of the nice things about homes that back to the creek on Copper Cliffs is that you can actually hear the constant flow of the creek, which is just so peaceful. The oldest home in this neighborhood dates back to 1949. Many of the homes were built in the 1960s, 1970s, and this house was built in the 1980s, and there are a couple others that were built in the 1980s as well. Many of the properties in Copper Cliffs have irrigation rights, making it just truly rich and abundant for growing crops and flowers, as well as fruit trees. Homes here start at approximately $1 million and go all the way up to multi-million. A lot of times the houses do not come up on the market. It's very rare, and when they do, typically you find a lot of properties that go in with multiple offers and well over asking price, just like this property did about a month ago. There is currently one property that's on the market in Copper Cliffs. It was built in 1981, and it is on about 2.5 acres. It's not on the creek, but if you have questions on that, please reach out. There is an irrigated apple orchard with 280 apple trees on it. So there are no restrictions in Copper Cliffs in terms of short-term rentals. So if you're looking to just buy a vacation home, move here permanently, or even being able to short-term rent or long-term rent, it is allowed in this community. Most of the homes here have at least an acre, if not more. So the house right there, that was built in 1949. The interior has been highly upgraded. It's absolutely beautiful. All the homes in Copper Cliffs are custom homes. Not a lot of Red Rock views, but there is this charm here. You can just feel the history. And, you know, Paul even sold a couple of home several years back that were adamant about wanting a brand new modern home. They came here, fell in love with the house on the creek, never looked back. Okay, as we leave Copper Cliffs, we're going to head over to another area that's on the opposite side of the creek, and it is just south of 89A, west of 179, just west of Tlaquepaque, and this area, the street that we're on right now, is called Trails End because it's at the end of the trail, and there are some creekfront properties down here. And one of them was on the market about a year ago that we are going to show you. This is at one of the properties that was on the market and showing you what the creek looked like from their backyard. There is a lot of history in this area with some homes dating back to the 1930s. And it's still a very popular destination. There are pockets of brand new homes, and the Sky Ridge development is right next to this up on the ridge. This area is on a higher elevation than Copper Cliffs was, so if you do have creekfront property, you might also have the opportunity to have Red Rock views. Just like in the Copper Cliffs area, there are no restrictions on rentals, and in this area you'll find single-family homes, some duplexes, as well as even some triplexes. There truly is an assortment of different types of properties in this area, everything from tiny homes and tiny cabins all the way up to big mega houses and properties and estates. At the time of this recording, there is a brand new property, new build on the market for just over $4 million, as well as a property that has never been on the market and was built in the 80s. So it's the first time being on the market, and that property sits right above the creek. If you'd like information on any of those properties or are interested in this area, please reach out. We'd be happy to help. This whole area is walking distance to Tlaquepaque, the new Forest Ranger Park that they are currently developing and will be passing by shortly, as well as trails. As we leave this area, we are going to go through Uptown and then through Oak Creek Canyon and talk about some of the different communities there. Right now, Sedona is in the process of improving roads. And so they've got 3 different projects going on through Uptown called Sedona in Motion that has actually really made it difficult in terms of traffic and getting through to Oak Creek Canyon. On the day of this tour, it was a light day for traffic. Currently, this project is slated to be in work through the end of 2025. So expect delays when you come up to Sedona and want to take a drive through Uptown or even through Oak Creek Canyon. Oak Creek Canyon is a really popular destination for tourists among people coming up from the Phoenix area and the valley during the summer to get away from the heat, and as well as full-time residents of Sedona. Some of the popular draw in Oak Creek Canyon include Midge Bridge, Grasshopper Point, Slide Rock, our favorite West Fork Trail, Indian Gardens Cafe, and it also has some really cute cabins and resorts. First little neighborhood that we're going to go into in Oak Creek Canyon, it's on the right-hand side on the way up to Flagstaff, and it's off of Purdyman Lane. The first homes that were built here were back in 1955. The last home that sold was in 2017. It's a very exclusive neighborhood, obviously, and the last home that was sold was in 2017. All of the homes on Purdyman Lane have creek access. This reminds me of the chalet. Oh, still? Wow, look at that. Look at that. There's deck back there. That's pretty crazy.
That was Pietro's house right there.
Oh, okay. Where did he go?
He still might be here right now. What funny.
Living Springs Mobile Homes. This is the Twin Springs Terrace subdivision. Some of the homes were built as early as 1964 and more recently in the 2000s, all the way up to about 2020. The properties in here are smaller in size, and I think the largest property is about 2,500 square feet, going all the way down to about 500 square feet, and those are called tiny cabins. If you purchase in here, just keep in mind there are no restrictions against short-term rentals. And keep in mind that although this is back tucked away in Oak Creek Canyon, the majority of the properties, if not all, are actually a few steps or a block away to the creek. There are some really nice hiking trails back here like Thompson Point right out your back door. So this little subdivision is tucked away on the right side, on the east side of 89A, and it's in between Indian Gardens Cafe and Market and Oak Creek Terrace Resort. Those are the tiny camp homes that we're passing by right now. In this neighborhood, I think there's a lot of different uses of color, and it actually stands out and makes this little neighborhood even that much more charming. And on the other side of the creek right there, that's a little manufactured community called Indian Gardens. It is on leased land, so not only would you be paying for the actual unit itself, but you would also be leasing part of the land, and the land is due up for its next increment in August of 2024. So back out on 89A, there are some homes that are just standalone right there on 89A. That used to be a Dairy Queen right there, and we would walk across the street over to this resort and sit on the hammocks at the creek. It's recently switched hands from a Dairy Queen to another joint. So we're now turning into Rancho Shangri. Homes started to be built in 1950s and have most recently, the latest build was in 2020. So we're going to see a vast difference in the types of styles in this neighborhood. This neighborhood is very similar to the last neighborhood in being that most of the homes are not actually sitting on the creek. It's just a short little walk to the creek. This little neighborhood is between Oak Creek and Manzanita campgrounds. There are only about 20 properties back here, and some of the properties still being the original owners. Most of the lot sizes are under a half acre, making it pretty easy to take care of, especially in the winter when there's snow. So this is Junipine, and Junipine is right before Slide Rock. And what they are like little condos that you can put into their resort program. So financing here either needs to be through cash or something called condo-tel financing. There is also a restaurant on site. Some of the units have been renovated and others have not. The units here started at about $650,000, and the highest priced has sold at $855,000. And obviously that's all contingent on the location within the property, as well as any sort of updates and improvements that have been made to each unit. And in Junipine, you can hear the creek from many locations within the property. So Downhole's Cabin does have a very small marketplace in case you don't want to go all the way into town to go to the grocery store. But again, it's very small. So this property is called the Chalet. It is located directly across from West Fork Hiking Trail. It does sit on the creek. It is kind of an iconic property and was a great family compound for many years to some business owners out of Phoenix. This is another type of property in Oak Creek Canyon. It's great because you really don't need to leave the entire compound. There are just beautiful trees, landscaping, and it sits right on the creek. And this property is right across the creek from West Fork Hiking Trail, undoubtedly Paul and my favorite hiking trail in all of Sedona. Pine Flats is the last subdivision before you hit the switchbacks to go up to Flagstaff. It's probably about 20 to 30 minutes out of town. There is no HOA, but the community did recently go back and change their CCNRs. So unless you are grandfathered in, there are going to be no short-term rentals. So the minimum short-term rental stay is 30 days if you're buying new in this little subdivision. For the homes that are sitting on the creek here, the creek is not fast moving, and the homes backing to the creek do back to 89A, which can get a little bit noisier just due to traffic and people traveling on 89A through the switchbacks, either coming into Sedona or going back up to Flagstaff. You're looking at some older construction here. Homes started in like 1940s, and the latest build was back in the 1990s. The last home that did sell here was back in September of 2023. It did sit on the creek and it sold for $937,000. This house before that was not on the creek and it sold in 2021. This is probably the largest little subdivision in Oak Creek Canyon with about just over 60 properties. If you'd like to hear more information on any of these areas that we've already discussed, please reach out to us. Either Paul or myself would be happy to accommodate any questions that you have and look forward to chatting with you. We're going to head over to Red Rock Loop, which is on the far west side of Sedona on your way out to Cottonwood and Cornville, and show you an area over there as well that does have some creek properties. So this was a very large dome property that we sold several years back. It's right at Chavez Crossing, and it's right across the street from Mystic Heights, a gated luxury community that sits on a hill versus sitting on the creek. And irrigation rights are part of the properties down in this area as well. It's probably about 10 minutes from the main business district in Sedona. So the Chavez and Arbijo families were related to some of the oldest Hispanic families of the Southwest, and that's how it got its name. This particular property was a 13,000 square foot dome. This property was also in Red Rock Loop, and it sold last year. It has ties to the Ford family. It's an equestrian property. It has pretty amazing views, as you can see, but you do need to walk down to the creek. As we leave here, we're going to head over to Page Springs and Cornville, which are two other areas that do have some creekfront properties. So Page Springs is known for the wineries, specifically like Javelina Leap, Page Springs Cellars, as well as DA Ranch. This is at DA Ranch that we took about a month ago. Up the creek is also a really wonderful restaurant that sits right on the creek, and when you sit by the windows, you can watch the creek and the birds. The Cornville and Page Springs area is a pretty strong community. There are a lot of people that live there full time, and I think people are now taking a stronger look at it as another area to reside, especially by the creek. So if you're looking for something with a little bit less traffic, easier to get to and from I-17, and a little bit better price point, this may be an option for you as well. Tell us your favorite area in the comments below. If you like this content, subscribe or hit the like button. And some of the properties in the Cornville Page Springs area have less restrictions and will allow you to have horses and cattle and different things like that if that is something that is of interest to you.